Why did coffee prices at Costco double in just a few weeks? Your eyes are not playing tricks on you. 6 of the most popular coffee brands at Costco have quietly shot up by as much as 100%. Some went from under $12 a bag to almost $24. This is not a pricing error. It is not an expired promotion. It is the direct result of new import tariffs that just kicked in, hitting coffee shipments from Brazil and Colombia, which supply most of Costco's stock. The problem is not just about coffee prices. It is about how these policies are quietly shifting the burden onto American consumers penny by penny. If coffee, the most familiar part of every morning, cannot hold its price, then what is next in line for the price spiral? Take a close look at the list of 6 coffee brands that are skyrocketing at Costco, because this is no longer just a coffee lover's problem. Number 1. Kirkland Colombian Supremo. Have you ever bought Kirkland Colombian Supremo coffee at Costco? If you have, you probably know the feeling of stopping in your tracks when you see the new number on the price tag. This is not the gentle 1 or 2% adjustment shoppers are used to. It is the kind of jump that makes you stare for a moment. That familiar 3LB bag that used to hover around $12 is now pushing close to $23. No new packaging, no improved recipe, no extra weight, yet the price has nearly doubled. What catches people off guard is that this is not some fancy premium coffee. It is a Costco staple. It sits right in the middle of the shelf within easy reach part of the breakfast table for countless American households. And now, looking at the price, many shoppers take a step back. Some even think they are mistaken. But when old receipts come out, when the listed price in other states shows the same trend, it becomes clear this is not a display glitch. The reality is changing faster than shoppers can keep up. There is a reason behind this spike, and it does not come from Costco. It comes from a new tariff policy targeting a range of imported agricultural products, including coffee from Brazil and Colombia. For Kirkland Colombian Supremo, the supply is almost entirely dependent on beans. From Colombia, the second largest exporter of Arabica coffee in the world. When tariffs shoot up overnight, the entire supply chain for this coffee gets squeezed, and consumers end up carrying that difference dollar by dollar. Not everyone knows about tariff policies, and even fewer expect them to affect something as simple as coffee this quickly. But looking at the timing of the price jump and the origin of the beans, the connection is hard to miss. The bigger issue is that this change is not gradual. It gives people no time to adjust, which is why this price hike leaves a small crack in consumer confidence. Even the most basic familiar items may no longer be as dependable as they once were. Some have started looking for alternatives. Yet when they pick up another brand, it is another shock. Those prices are climbing too. Kirkland Colombian Supremo used to be a symbol of stability. It was not the best tasting coffee, nor the cheapest compared to store brands. But it struck the right balance between quality and price. That balance made it the default choice for millions of everyday Americans. The feel of scooping it into the coffee maker, the aroma when you open the bag, the taste of the first sip. All part of a habit that is hard to change. So when its price shoots up too fast, it is not just a new number on a shelf tag. It is a reminder that even the things we take for granted can slip away at any moment. And if a basic bag of coffee at Costco can no longer hold its price, what else will lose its stability next? American consumers may be entering a time when every receipt comes with a big question about their future. And Kirkland Colombian Supremo, a coffee that once went unnoticed, has now become the starting point for that worry. Number 2. Maxwell House Original Roast. Maxwell House. Original Roast is not a premium coffee, but it has been part of working-class America for so long that people often grab it without thinking. That blue tin has sat quietly in the kitchens of millions of homes from small towns in Missouri to rows of mobile homes in Arkansas. It was chosen not because it was the best tasting coffee, but because it was good enough, easy to brew, easy to find, and always priced within reach. In the past few weeks, though, people have started noticing something they never paid attention to before: the price. A 48 Oz can of Maxwell House Original Roast that used to sell for around $9 at Costco is now going for more than $15 in some areas. That is nearly double. No smaller size. Nothing new added. And what surprises people is not just the increase itself, but the reason behind it. Unlike products that naturally fluctuate with seasons or shipping costs, Maxwell House coffee is being pulled into the price surge because of changes in import policies for its raw materials. Just like Kirkland, most of the beans used to make Maxwell House come from countries now facing steep tariffs under new trade rules. The difference is that Maxwell House is a long-standing brand, deeply woven into the daily lives of middle-aged Americans. So when its price jumps, the emotional impact is far greater. The irony is that Maxwell House was once seen as the last line of defense against food inflation. When everything else went up, it stayed put. When upscale brands changed their packaging to justify higher prices, Maxwell House kept its old familiar design. It was a symbol of stability, which is why this price hike feels like losing a safety net. That feeling does not come from a few extra dollars. It comes from realizing you no longer know what you can rely on. A brand that stood by consumers for decades has now been pulled into the same spiral shoppers cannot control. What worries people even more is this: if a no-frills coffee like Maxwell House has to adjust its price because of global market shifts and tariffs, how much worse will it be for other brands? Costco is not stepping in. The government is not offering explanations, and consumers have no one to turn to. When change happens quietly and no one takes responsibility, people are left to accept it as part of a new reality where choices are shrinking. Maxwell House is no longer the safe bet it used to be, and that is more unsettling than the number printed on the shelf tag. One can of coffee going up in price might not seem like much, but when that can is tied to childhood memories to parents, to the rhythm of every morning, the increase carries a message. Everyone understands the old world you knew is disappearing sip by sip. Number 3. Dunkin Original Blend Ground Coffee. Duncan is a familiar face on streets across America. You might not stop at a Dunkin store every morning, but you have almost certainly seen that signature orange and purple bag sitting on Costco shelves. The 45 Oz bag of original blend ground coffee has long been one of the top sellers. People do not buy it because it is the cheapest, but because it is Duncan, a name tied to convenience, speed, and trust. Yet in the past few weeks, a change has been catching shoppers off guard, even frustrating them. The price of this coffee has been creeping up in ways that feel less than straightforward. Unlike Kirkland or Maxwell House, which made clear and measurable jumps in price, Dunkin Original Blend is taking a different approach. At some Costco warehouses, the price still says $18.99, but the weight has quietly dropped from 45 Oz to 40 Oz. In other locations, the bag is still 45 Oz, but the price is now $21.49. And in some places, the packaging has been slightly redesigned, subtle enough to miss, but when weighed, it is nearly 10% lighter. This kind of sneaky change is making consumers uneasy. Not because the price is too high, but because they no longer know what is real and what is a tactic. A shopper in Illinois said he bought 2 identical Dunkin bags in back-to-back weeks and noticed there was clearly less coffee even though the price was higher. At first he thought he had remembered wrong or maybe got a packaging error. But after reading comments from buyers in other states, he realized this was not a mistake. It was a quiet and calculated adjustment, and that for many people feels worse than an open price hike. It feels like having your expectations swapped out without your consent. The thing is, Dunkin has always been seen as a friendly, accessible brand. They do not make pretentious coffee. They do not sell an artisanal backstory. They are simply grab and go, coffee without complication or tricks. Which is why this vague shifting approach feels like a betrayal to some. When you buy a product because you trust it to be straightforward and transparent, the least you expect is consistency. But now with Dunkin playing the pricing game by shaving ounces, tweaking the design, and forcing customers to mentally calculate how much value they are losing, that trust is starting to erode. American consumers, especially those in middle age and older, do not hate price increases if there is a clear reason. They lived through the inflation of the 70s when prices jumped week to week. But they do hate ambiguity. They hate the kind of hidden price hike where you think you are paying the same but are actually getting less with no one willing to explain why. And Duncan, in the eyes of many, is beginning to walk that path. Some say it is just coffee, and if it gets expensive, you can drink less. But coffee is not that simple. Especially with Dunkin', where people buy it not because it was ever the cheapest, but because it once gave them the clearest sense of what they were getting. When that clarity disappears, it is not just about losing a few extra dollars. It is about losing trust, a rare thing in a time when prices change by the day. Number 4. Kirkland House Blend Coffee. If you have ever chosen Kirkland House Blend Coffee because it was stable, good quality, and easy to drink, you are not alone. Many shoppers have considered it a safe choice among the many coffee options on Costco's shelves. Compared to dark roasts or pricey Italian brands, Kirkland's House Blend offers a comfortable balance, not too weak, not too strong, fitting the taste of the majority. But in recent weeks, something strange has been happening. Customers are reporting that their cup of House Blend does not taste the same as before. Some say the flavor is noticeably weaker. Others say the aroma no longer fills the room like it used to. And what puzzles them even more is that the price is still climbing, while the quality seems to be sliding backward. This is not just coming from one or two individuals. On Costco consumer forums, dozens of people have shared similar experiences. A man in Michigan wrote that he has been drinking House Blend every morning for 8 years, but the most recent batch made him pour it out halfway. It was not expired. It was not his coffee maker. It was different. Different in a quiet way, as if someone had changed the recipe without saying a word. And when shoppers turned the bag around to read the label more carefully, they noticed something surprising. It no longer clearly said 100% Arabica like before. Some of the new batches now simply say roasted coffee. No details, no promise. A quiet retreat from transparency that consumers were never told about. This raises a big question: is Kirkland changing its ingredients to cut costs as import prices rise? And if so, why are the brand's most loyal customers not being told? The problem is that people are willing to pay more if they know the reason and if the quality stays the same. But if they have to pay more for a worse product, that is no longer a voluntary choice. That is an unfair trade. Some argue that House Blend is still cheaper than many premium coffees, so it is understandable if the quality slips a little. But that logic falls apart when you look at the bigger picture. Consumers are already being asked to pay more for everything, from eggs and milk to gas and coffee. They accept that only on one condition: the product must at least keep its value. When Kirkland, a brand that stands for quality at a fair price, starts showing signs of cutting corners, shoppers lose one of the last anchors in their everyday purchases. For years, House Blend was a no-brainer. Walk into Costco and for around $11 to $13 you could take home a bag of coffee that would last a month. No need to compare dozens of brands. But now, every time people pick up a bag of House Blend, they find themselves hesitating. Is this still the coffee I trusted? And if not, where should I turn next? For younger shoppers, this might not be a big deal. They adapt quickly and easily change their tastes. But for middle-aged consumers, those who live by habit and depend on stability, this small shift feels like a loss. It is not loud, it is not shocking, but it leaves a lingering sense of disappointment. Because when even your morning coffee no longer tastes right, what in life can still be counted on to stay the same? Number 5. Folgers Classic Roast. Do you remember that confident feeling when you'd roll out of Costco with a giant tub of Folgers Classic Roast in your cart? The big 51.4 Oz red plastic container, hefty enough to last the whole family a month, and it used to cost under $10. For many Americans, especially retirees or those living frugally, this brand was synonymous with value. Buying in bulk meant paying far less per ounce compared to the smaller bags at regular grocery stores. But that's no longer the case. Today, the price for that large Folgers Classic Roast tub has climbed to around $17 at many Costco locations, nearly doubling in less than 6 months. And the real shock isn't just the price jump. It's what happens when people compare the per-ounce cost of the large tub at Costco with the smaller Folgers packages sold at Walmart or Target. The math turns upside down. Same coffee, but if you buy the smaller size somewhere else, you actually save money. One Reddit user posted a receipt showing two 25 Oz bags bought at a local store, then compared it to the 51 Oz tub at Costco. The verdict: the big tub had completely lost its value advantage. This isn't just about rising prices, it's the collapse of a consumer logic that's been baked into the American mindset for generations. Buy more, save more. When that rule breaks, people start questioning their own choices. Folgers is no stranger to Americans. It's been around since the 19th century, paired with the iconic slogan, "The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup." That line was the soundtrack to countless mornings across the country. But now when you realize you paid more for the so-called wholesale deal, that slogan stops feeling cheerful. It becomes a reminder that times have changed, and those who aren't paying close attention are paying for old habits. What frustrates people most is the lack of any warning. No note on the label, no sign hinting that buying more no longer saves you money. Shoppers keep believing they're making the smart move, cashing in on the benefits of wholesale shopping. But when they get home, crunch the numbers, and realize they overpaid, disappointment quickly turns into anger. Not everyone has time to calculate the cost per ounce. Not everyone double-checks prices between stores, which is exactly why they feel blindsided. Folgers Classic Roast hasn't changed its name or its taste, but the way it's priced and positioned is quietly wounding older consumers. It's not just financial harm. It's the insult of feeling underestimated, as if the system is testing how little they notice. For a generation raised on thrift, that's a hard hit. For younger people, a few dollars might not seem like much. But for those living on retirement income, for people who once had to weigh every cent in the budget, this strikes at their pride. The big red tub they once saw as a symbol of value has become a symbol of naive trade-offs. And when even Folgers, a name that's been part of their lives for decades, starts making them feel unsafe, the trust in the discount retail system begins to crack for real. Number 6. Peet's Coffee. Peet's Coffee used to be the gold standard for serious coffee drinkers. Since the 1960s, it has catered to people looking for something different from the mass market brews. At one point, Peet's wasn't just a beverage. It was a statement you had taste, you were selective, and you were willing to pay a few extra dollars for better quality. That was why so many middle-aged Americans, after decades of drinking Folgers, Maxwell, or Kirkland, decided to upgrade their taste by trying Peet's. Especially once it became widely available at Costco with its signature French roast in the 2-pound can, bold, aromatic, and distinctly European in style. But now, a strange feeling has started to creep into the minds of people who once trusted Peet's, the feeling that the brand is slowly pushing them out. In less than 2 months, the price of a 2lb can of Peet's coffee at Costco has jumped from around $17 to over $24 in many states. It kept climbing with no promotions, no warning, and worst of all, no logic that regular customers could accept. Plenty of shoppers went back to the same familiar aisle, saw the new price, and walked away. Not because they stopped liking Peet's, but because it no longer felt like a better choice. It now felt like a cold reminder that they no longer belonged in that price tier. In consumer forums, more and more people are asking the same question. Who exactly is Peet's trying to serve? One man in Arizona wrote, "I picked Peet's because I wanted stronger coffee, not to make some kind of social status statement. Now it feels like I'm paying for a fake identity." It sounds harsh, but it perfectly captures what many customers are feeling, being quietly edged out by a brand they once considered the perfect mid-range upgrade. The frustration isn't just that Peet's is expensive. It's how the brand is slowly boxing in its customer base to fit a certain mold. The kind of person who has money doesn't care about a few extra dollars and treats coffee as an experience rather than a basic need. And when their prices keep slipping beyond the reach of the middle class, the unspoken message is clear. We're not here for you anymore. For many middle-aged coffee drinkers who chose Peet's for its real quality, this shift feels like a gentle but unmistakable rejection. They don't need a coffee with a backstory. They don't need artsy packaging. They just want something stronger than Folgers, better than Kirkland, and still reasonably priced. But even that is starting to slip away. And what's more, this change isn't happening through flashy marketing campaigns or bold rebranding. It's happening quietly with each price hike, each weight reduction, each temporarily out of stock sign that comes back with a higher price tag. Some say the modern market leaves no room for neutrality. Brands either aim for the high end or sink into the bargain bin. But what about the people in the middle? The ones who don't chase trends but also don't settle for as cheap as possible. Peet's used to serve that group perfectly. Now it seems to be turning its back. Coffee once built connections between people, between the past and the present, between a brand and its customers. But when pricing becomes a way to filter people out, those connections turn into walls. And if Peet's keeps going down this path, it won't be selling coffee anymore. It will be selling exclusivity. So now all 6 types of coffee, from everyday staples like Folgers to middle ground favorites like Maxwell to the accessible premium Peet's, are changing. But what's shifting isn't just the price tag. It's the relationship between consumers and the brands they used to trust. A morning cup of coffee is no longer just a habit. It's a daily reminder that even the most familiar things can slip out of reach overnight. If even coffee, the symbol of starting your day, can't stay steady, then what else can?
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage litigation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.